Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Today, we're going to be diving into something
Really interesting.
I think a lot of our listeners are going to relate to.
Yeah, I know I did.
Photography.
Yes.
And specifically kind of the pursuit of that, like, perfect image.
That perfect color.
Perfect color.
Yeah, so we have this piece, it's called a THOOU,
Right.
which translates to pasted text.
Pasted text. All right, so what is it about pasted text that you think is going to...
Well, it's kind of funny. The name doesn't really give it away.
No.
But it's really about this idea that, you know how we're always striving for that perfect color in our photos?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Especially if you're like me and you love using Japanese cameras.
All the time.
Like Sony, Canon, all that.
Yeah. So what about Japanese cameras?
So this piece is arguing that Japanese camera design sometimes prioritizes the technical perfection over the way the human eye actually sees color.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and they call this the artisan's eye.
Artisan's eye, okay.
And so, you know, when you think about those really clean, almost hyper-real images you sometimes see from like Sony or Canon cameras, it's like almost too perfect.
Right.
And so they suggest some specific camera setting adjustments to kind of compensate for this. Specifically, if you're using Japanese cameras to achieve a more true-to-life look.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
So things like dialing down the saturation, reducing the contrast a bit, and even lowering the exposure just a touch.
So it's kind of like taking those super vibrant images and just like toning them down a bit.
Exactly. Bring those colors closer to what your eye would actually see if you were standing right there.
Okay, and I could see him, you know, sometimes you look at a photo and you're like, that just doesn't look quite right, even if it's like technically a good photo.
Yeah, like it's too much.
It's like too much.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how like that cultural perspective on the artisan's eye could be playing into that.
It's really interesting to think about, and it kind of raises the question, like, do different cultures actually see color differently? Or are we all just influenced by the technology we use?
Yeah, it makes me think about like how we've all gotten so used to that super saturated like hyper contrasty look on Instagram.
Exactly.
And it's like maybe that's warping our perception of what good color is supposed to be.
I think so. And speaking of technology.
Yeah, let's talk tech.
This piece also dives into some limitations of modern cameras when it comes to color.
Okay, limitations. So you're saying even if we get the settings right, there's still going to be issues?
Potentially. So there's two that they highlight. First one is AWB Errors, which is automatic white balance.
So AWB errors, and these happen when...
Yeah, so basically when your camera doesn't detect enough white in a scene, it struggles to get the color right.
Okay.
And I'm sure we've all experienced this.
Okay.
Like when you're taking photos and you move the camera just slightly.
And it's like the whole color changes.
It's totally different. Yeah, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I always thought that was me.
I know, right?
Messing up the settings.
We all do.
So it's the camera's fault.
It could be.
Okay, so even if I spend a lot of money on a fancy camera, doesn't necessarily mean
unfortunately not.
I'm going to get perfect color.
Yeah, and it gets a little more complicated.
Okay.
Because they also talk about lens color distortion.
Color distortion, okay.
Yeah, it sounds a little scary.
It does.
But basically it's just that camera lenses are super complex.
Okay.
With, you know, multiple layers of glass or plastic and special coatings.
Yeah.
But even with all that engineering, the design of the lens itself can actually introduce subtle color biases.
So you're saying that even if the camera, like white balance is good?
Yes.
The lens itself.
The lens itself.
Could be messing things up.
It can, and it's really, really hard to correct for even with software.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's kind of like trying to remove a smudge from the inside of your lens.
Oh, wow.
You can't really get to it.
Right.
Directly.
So we can't trust our AWB.
Right.
We're saying maybe we can't even trust our lenses.
It's tricky.
Are we just doomed to...
Not necessarily.
Is there a chaos?
No, they do offer some solutions.
Okay, good.
But before we get to those, they actually talk about debunking some traditional color correction tools that a lot of photographers use.
Okay. Yeah, like gray cards.
Yeah, gray cards, color checkers, all that stuff.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
But I've never really known how they work or how to use them properly.
So are you saying that they're not as reliable as maybe we think?
That's what this is suggesting, yeah.
Yeah, and they argue that they're often misused, especially in real-world settings where the lighting is always changing.
Right. Okay.
So maybe we should dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, let's definitely get into that, because I'm curious now.
Yeah, me too.
What we're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
If we can't trust all this stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so we were talking about gray cards and color checkers.
Yeah. Like,
and how maybe they're not as reliable as
we thought.
Yeah.
So like, for example, with a gray card, it's supposed to help you get like perfect color.
Right.
But they only really work in a very controlled lighting environment, like a specific color temperature.
And what is that?
It's called 6500K.
6500K.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of that, but I don't really know what it means.
Yeah, it's very specific. And in the real world, you're pretty much never going to have that.
Never going to have that.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of pointless then. It can be, cause like any ambient light.
Like what kind of ambient light are we talking?
Oh, like sunlight, street lamps, even indoor lighting.
Okay, so basically anything?
Anything, yeah.
Can throw it off.
Can completely throw off the accuracy of the gray card.
Okay, so then what about those filters?
The flat filters.
Yeah, those flat filters I've seen people use.
Yeah, so those can actually be pretty effective indoors.
Okay.
But outdoors, they can struggle, especially if there's a lot of sky in the scene.
Because it's picking up the blue.
Too much blue from the sky. Yeah. And it throws off the color balance.
It all comes back to the color balance.
It really does. Yeah. So it seems like...
So we can't trust our cameras.
Yeah.
We can't trust the gray cards.
All right.
We can't trust the filters.
It's tricky.
What are we supposed to do?
Well, don't worry.
Okay.
They actually offer some solutions.
Okay, thank goodness. Yeah.
So what do we got to do?
It involves taking matters into our own hands a little bit.
So instead of letting the camera guess the white balance, we're going to tell it exactly what white should be.
We're going to tell it, okay.
So we're going to do a manual white balance calibration.
Manual, okay.
At the scene.
And how do we do that?
So they recommend using a specific type of filter.
Okay.
It's called a directional white balance filter.
Directional white balance filter.
They specifically mention a DCC 40 filter.
ECC 40, okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So this filter is designed to like block out unwanted light sources that might be contaminating your white balance reading.
So like the sky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, remember how we talked about the sky throwing off the color balance?
Right.
This filter helps minimize that.
So it's almost like we're creating a controlled lighting environment, even if we're not
exactly
in a studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by zeroing out the camera's white balance with this filter, you're essentially giving it the most accurate starting point.
To get those colors right.
For true to life colors, yes.
Okay, but manual white balance, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
It always seemed kind of fiddly to me.
It can be.
Time consuming.
But it is worth it.
Okay, is it really worth it?
According to this, it is.
Okay, why?
Because accurate white balance doesn't just fix the color.
Okay.
It actually can enhance sharpness.
Wait, what? I thought sharpness was about the lens.
So did I.
Okay.
But it's this fascinating connection.
Oh?
So when each pixel in your image has the correct color information, the details and textures become much more distinct because they're not being muddled by color casts that our brain might interpret as blurriness.
So our brains actually process the details better.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you were to take off color-tinted sunglasses, suddenly the world snaps into sharper focus.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So, but even if we're using this filter, how do we know we're getting the white balance right?
That's where another cool innovation comes in.
Okay, another one.
They developed something called the full color spectrum diagram.
Full color spectrum diagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that?
I have no idea.
So imagine a painter's palette, but it has every single color you could imagine. That's what this diagram is.
So like a giant rainbow?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's a visual representation of the world's entire color palette.
Okay. But how does that help us with white balance?
So when you use it with that DCC filter we talked about, it's supposed to give you the most precise white balance target for any scene.
So no matter where we are?
Even tricky ones like mountains or snow.
Mountains or snow?
Yeah.
It'll work.
Supposedly.
Okay, so it's like a cheat sheet.
Kinda, yeah.
For white balance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I don't know if it's actually revolutionary or not.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll have to test it out, but
yeah.
It's interesting.
It does make you think about the future of color management.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine if our phones had this?
That would be amazing.
It would.
But I guess the takeaway here is it's not about the gear.
It's not about the gear.
It's not about the expensive cameras.
It's about understanding.
It's about understanding.
Light and color.
Light and color.
And mastering white balance.
Yeah.
And maybe even thinking about some of those cultural assumptions that we have.
Yeah.
About what looks good.
About what looks good, yeah. You know, it's funny. I never really thought about the connection between color and sharpness.
Yeah, it's not something you immediately think of.
Right. Like, I always thought it was all about the lens, the megapixels, you know, all that technical stuff. But his whole idea that, like, if a photo has a color cast, it could actually look less sharp, even if the details are there.
It's almost like it tricks our brains. It's like a little optical illusion.
Yeah, so it's not just about capturing the details.
Yeah.
It's about making sure the colors are right.
It's about presenting those details in a way that our eyes can understand.
So it's like the colors kind of act as a guide for our eyes to focus on the details.
Yeah, and the source actually talks about how images with really accurate color, they have this like cutting-edge contrast.
Cutting-edge contrast?
Where the edges of objects just seem to pop.
Against the background.
Yeah, because each pixel is displaying its true color.
So there's a stronger separation.
A much stronger visual separation, yeah.
This is blowing my mind. I'm not going to lie.
I know, it's really fascinating.
I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to white balance now.
You should.
Maybe I'll even get one of those DCC filters.
Yeah, you should try it out.
See what all the fuss is about.
And see what kind of difference it makes in your own photos, because it's pretty amazing.
I'm sure it is. Well, folks, that about wraps up our deep dive.
Into color and culture and photography.
Into pasted text. Who knew?
Who knew, Ray?
That little piece of writing would have so much
to unpack.
To say.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So before we go, I wanted to leave you with one final thought.
All right, I'm ready.
So if we're saying that, you know, subtle color shifts can impact how we perceive sharpness in a photo, what other hidden ways could color be influencing our everyday lives?
That's a great question.
Think about it like the colors of your surroundings.
Right.
Could they be affecting your mood, your focus?
Yeah.
Even your perception of time?
It makes you wonder.
It really does.
Yeah.
Lots to think about.
A lot to think about.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring the world with a fresh perspective.